So let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go from the start.
So anyway, your grandmother, me, Yvette Dupron, went to 12 years of Catholic school. And it was quite an experience because when I got in high school, there were 3,000 students or so, and maybe 50 African American. So we wanted to start a Black Student Union because no one talked about the Black history part of our learning. So one day we got together and we decided that that's one of the courses we would like to have as an elective. Well, of course, you know, the administration, everybody said no. We don't need to have that. And we did feel some type of way about that. So we got together and we decided that we were going to have a school walkout.
What year was this?
This was most likely in 60, nope, 70s.
Okay.
It was in the 70s because I'm trying to think. I went there in 1969. So 71, maybe
Wait, so what grade
1971.
were you in?
I was 11th grade.
Okay.
And Giselle, my sister, was in 10th grade. So I, of course, participated on the track team. I was fine with that. One had really a really good time doing that. But in my classes, I was one black, one African American in the classroom. And because the Catholic nuns felt some type of way about things that you didn't realize until you get older. I sat in the back of the classroom. And when I think back at that, that gives me chills because it made me become the principal of my own big school because I never wanted anybody to feel intimidated or that some other racial stuff was going on. But then when they would not let us have the Black Student Union, I felt very strongly about that. So when I was asked to come out to do a walkout, 12 o'clock, I did mention it to my mom. She said, no, don't do that. You're going to get suspended and all these things. And I felt very strongly about it. So when I got to school, I participated in it. Now, as I was leaving the building, I saw my sister. And she said, I want to walk out too. I said, I don't want you to walk out. I said, because you're on a prominent, and this is a drill team that traveled all over the world. And we did not want her to be put off. And we were told that we were going to suffer a consequence of suspension from different, if you're on any teams, if you're on any sports teams or anything like that. So this drill team was like featured on TV. So I told her to hide in the bathroom, and when everybody exit the building, for her to go back to class. And she really didn't want to do that, but I told her, you have to do that. So I made her go back, and I came out along with the other 50 to 75 African American students. Um, we were suspended. We were suspended, and but we weren't suspended indefinitely. The threat was you're going to be suspended indefinitely, and you won't be able to participate in any of your sports or any activities. But none of that happened either. We were suspended, but we were allowed to come back to school like after 2 days or so, like that.
Uh-huh.
So anyway, to make a long story short, a lot of how I was feeling and thinking and had mixed views about was because my mom from New Orleans went through a time when she uh, saw signs that said no blacks allowed in. You couldn't drink out the same water fountain. You couldn't use the same bathrooms as the Caucasian people. So you have to realize she grew up and saw all of those things. We're now moving from New Orleans to Philadelphia, and we're in the middle of a town that did not really practice that. So she grew up that way, so she had those feelings. I did not have those feelings, and I fought against those feelings.
Mm.
So she said to me, you cannot wear an afro. I need you to go to school with your uniform on. Everything's got to be right. Everything's got to be just so. Your hair has to be combed a certain way, and things like that. Well, I did not believe that. Here I am fighting for a black student union, and I'm, sitting around thinking about if I could get an afro, if I could wear an afro, if I could feel free, if I could feel freedom. So I went to school that morning. I washed my hair in the bathroom early. I let it dry. I patted it all together because that was, to my surprise, picture day. And yeah, and when you're a junior, you take your pictures for senior year. So to my surprise, it was picture day. And oh my God, I had to go and take my pictures with my hair in an afro, not thinking anything about them being mailed to the house, not thinking about my mother seeing them. Who cared? I wanted to represent. So I did. And when the pictures came and she opened it up, we had this another big discussion about all of this. And then that was when I was able to really put my foot down to say, I feel strongly about this. This is not right. It's discriminatory. There's an injustice here and things like that. And she didn't really understand, but she understood. She didn't understand, but she was, at least listening. So at the end of the day, we did end up getting a black student union, maybe toward the end of the year or so, or for the next year for the seniors. And only juniors and seniors could participate, by the way, because those were the ones that had time, and those are the ones they felt like, they needed to hear their voices to set up everything so that when the freshmen and freshmen and sophomores get to those courses, those electives, they'll be a little bit more mature. They didn't
Yeah.
think they could handle those conversations. So, with that being said, I took that with me when I moved from Temple University, where I went for 1 year, all the way to New Orleans to Dillard University. And when I got to Dillard University, of course, an all-black school, I played a big role there as well. There were some things that I did find out about Dillard University that I did not like. And one of the things was this. I was told that this is a black university, yet I'm sitting outside and I see a group of Caucasian men with suits on and all this stuff walking around with the president, and he's showing them, the grounds. And I said, well, who is that? Like, who are these people? Well, these were the people who owned Dillard University. And
Oh.
I'm like, wait a minute. This is an African American school. Like,
Mm.
why do we have, where'd they come from? It really blew my mind. I couldn't deal with it because I said, this is not really an African American school then. It's not a black school. This is a school run by whites for blacks to
Mm.
come.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really another pivotal point, of turn in my life. And then the last episode at Dillard University, and I have a yearbook picture. I wish I could find it for you, where I had a real big afro, a huge one,
Oh.
because guess what? They allowed the Ku Klux Klan to visit the campus. I couldn't get over it.
No.
I'm in the South, yes. The Ku Klux Klan visited Dillard University.
Oh my
And
God.
I said, this cannot be. This can't be. I like, what is this? So I had a lot of questions about that.
What did they do?
And
What happened?
all they did was come to see. They were looking at the grounds. They were going all into the buildings, looking around and all of these things,
Oh.
and just observing. And I couldn't understand why they had the privilege to be able to do that. Like, why are they here?
How
Just
did you
like the day
know?
that I
Were they
saw,
wearing their outfits?
yes,
Oh my God.
yes, they were. And that's how I knew. And the whole campus was buzzing. Like, we were like, what is this? Like, we're upset. right?
Yeah.
So we have a big meeting in the chapel, and we had a guest speaker, and I can't remember if it was Jesse Jackson or it was somebody prominent. They came to speak to us, and when they did come to speak to us, we were all doing the Black Power thing. Like, we listened and all of those things, but all of our questions were around how, about discrimination and why did we have, a group of white people walking around the campus looking at everything. Like, we didn't understand why this was called now a black university when it's not owned by black people. It was owned by and run by and funded by this group of white people. And I said, now this is not right. I had a problem with it the whole time.
So, circling back to the KKK, whatever came of that? So, you just saw them walking around. How does that tie
Hmm.
in with your afro picture? And also, were they with the president? Like, what was the aftermath?
Yes, they were with the president and other, I guess, prominent people
What?
walking around to see what the campus looked like. Maybe they were putting money into the
The KKK?
yes, maybe they were putting money into this organization, our Black College, so they could have some kind of control. Don't know what kind of control, but because I never knew about that. But I do know after that happened, we were in such an uproar that they got a speaker to come talk to us about, you know, um, black, white issues, discrimination, all the things that they knew we were upset about.
Oh, wow.
So it was pretty powerful. And you know what? I just started remembering that as I was talking about walking out at my high school, which was 3,000 children attending, 3,000 teenagers attending this high school, and only about 50 African American students were there.
Did any of the
And
white students
and it's
go?
no, no white student walked out, none, none, only the black students. Yes. And we got out there with signs, rallying, saying we want a black student union, just like they do now, like on TV, and you see people rallying and doing things like that. That's what
Oh,
we did, except for it wasn't violent. It wasn't violent. So, of course, there's a speaker among us, and teachers came out. They wanted us to come back in because this was newsworthy. They wanted us to come back in. And if we weren't coming back in, first of all, understand, they're telling us this outside, understand you are going to get suspended, right?